Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche, everybody in Cyberland. Your favorite Babalao. At least I hope so. Homo Dundileke. Coming at you. Another sequel to the Help Me, Help You. But today, we're going to talk about the sign Oyekun Ojuani with Omo Shango. Now, when we talk about this sign, and like I told many people before, all the signs are going to share the same taboos, but your guardian and correlating your guardian with the sign is key because it identifies you individually. Now, for Omo Changos, we understand that there is masculinity. We talk about, someone who is of good stature, someone who likes to have a good appearance, someone who's, who likes to have a good time as well in the social. But when we talk about Oyekun Wani, when we talk about Shango, we talk about a few things. One, because of the free spirit that is Oyekun Owani needs to be very careful with a few things. One is going to be the Eguns themselves. Because let me tell you why. And a lot of people don't understand the correlation of the Eguns when it comes to Oyekun Owani. Oyekun Owani is where there is times where the use of Babaluaye is meant to repel misfortune, repel bad things. But the reason why we use Babaluaye is because Babaluaye is a very strong divinity. And in Oyekun Owani, that pact with Babaluaye needs to be tight. So with Babaluaye, a lot of people forget, comes the Eguns. So the pact of Babaluaye comes the Eguns, comes the line of energy with Oyekun Owani, which means that lesson number 1 for Oyekun Owani with Shango. Give a tambol to the Eguns. Alright, do a tambol to the Eguns. Do a tambol not only for your Eguns, but learn to start giving spiritual masses to those that pass away. Okay, your parents, your grandparents, those that you are close to. You got to start manipulating the Eguns and giving them the light that they need and giving them the path that is required, if that makes sense. Because as a son of Shango, we need to always remember that the Eguns in Shango, there is a little bit of a clash. And we always trying to mend that clash within this faith. So you have to do right by the Eguns, not only because you're Oyekun Owani, but because you're hijo de Shango. So all the Oyekun Owanis, again, taboos, stories, patakis, everything's the same, except when we start figuring out your head, you got to start to correlate some things. That makes sense. All right. The next thing, there's a pataki that talks about Obatala and the land that was people were dying, there was misery and everything else, and it's because Elegba in the story moved to a different land and wasn't present in order to give and bring in and allow the doors and the roads to be open to bring in the Ire. So what happened is, long story short, they found him. He was living in another land, but it was because they were feeding him good, right? He was getting all types of goodies, and he stood there. And so therefore he abandoned this other land, which did not benefit of his presence being there. What does that mean to you? That means to you is to be very careful, right, of the abandonment of the Orishas, the abandonment of the divinities, right? Because you don't attend them. That is the key concept of the pataki, okay? But there's a secondary to that. The way they lured Elegbara back to that land in order to bring fortune and to bring ire and blessings to the mankind was, for the first time, Elegbara eats rooster and goat. So The pataki is giving us the roadmap to success, right? So Oyekun Ojuani, guess what you should be doing every year? Give Elewa a chivo and a rooster. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, when we start peeling back that onion a little bit, right? I just told you that you had to give Elebara a chivo and a rooster. I already told you that Baba Luaye speaks in this sign, and we use Baba Luaye to repel negative energies and stuff like that. Right? You're a son of Shango, or if any one of you have someone that is a guardian of you, start to learn to feed your divinities, right? Your head with the divinities that are making movement in this sign. So, for example, Hijo de Shango, you should have Elegua sitting right next to you, eating with Shango, because you don't ever want to forget about the divinity, because he left, bad things happen. So keep them contained, keep them entertained to that extent. I'm not saying that you got to go crazy, but I'm just saying the annual requirement of the golden rooster is going to satisfy that. But don't forget your head. Shango should be fed as well. Don't forget about Aluaye. And then you begin to build that cycle of things, right? Okay. The other thing. There is, because of what I talk about the goat and the rooster and the representation of that being the first animal, or the first time Elewa ate a rooster and a goat. This is where you need to go to your godfather, okay? And they're gonna make you a charm, okay? With that representation and that pataki particularly for tranquility. Because the problem is with Oyekun Ojuani, and I tell you about being able to use Babaluaye to repel. You have Elegbara who you're feeding in order to bring Ire. I'm telling you about a charm of Osang so that you can have some tranquility. It all comes back to the same thing, right? You're going to constantly need to work yourself with their bowls and so forth. Go back to your godfather, tax him about the charm of Osang so we can get you some tranquility, and boom, you're gonna be okay. The other thing is you're very motivated, right? So Oyekun Ojuanis are very motivated and they are willing to achieve their goal at any price. That's very dangerous, right? When I say any price, because a lot of times, let's say, they're willing to achieve something, they will sacrifice family, they will sacrifice time, they will sacrifice spirituality. Depends on their motivation and where they're trying to go. Maybe money drives them, whatever it is. Oyekun Ojuanis are very ambitious, very ambitious. But you got to be very careful about that. The other big thing about Oyekun Ojuani, and the big takeaway is your kids, your children, okay? Whether it's your blood children, whether it's your stepchildren, whether it's your god kids, it doesn't matter. Children, right? People who depend on you to be a role model, to be a leader of some sort, right? Don't abandon them. Don't abandon them, because your greatest successes and accomplishments are gonna come through the ire and the luck. We'll say the luck of those children. Okay, so be very careful about abandoning children or having children with somebody else and then you forget about them or whatever. You need to spend that quality time. But on the flip side, do not take children away from other people, from the other spouse, right? So maybe you're a wife and you have kids, and you're an Oyekun Ojuani, right? It's important that those kids know who their father is, and it's important that you bridge that gap in order for that to be successful. Or on the flip side, if it's a guy and you have the kids, you gotta bridge that gap, and don't ever turn those kids from the other parent. Again, that sanctity is important because that is where the blessings lie. So the more you corrupt that blessing, the more it goes away and is no more. So it's very important to focus on that when we talk about Oyekun Ojuani, okay? So Again, you guys know, I like to keep it short, but you guys know, you can always give me a like, give me a share, leave me a comment, shoot me an email. All right, we're ready at 10 minutes. So, la regla de Ifa at gmail.com. That's la.regla.de.ifa at gmail.com. Again, we appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. Many blessings to you all. Ache, Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche.